Why, hello there, Exile. I managed to actually find something fun. My damage isn't quite what I want it to be here. In lower tier maps, it absolutely stomps. Otherwise, I'm going to have to throw a couple spears here and there. But I just wanted to share with you how the league's going right now. And in case you like this gameplay, think it's interesting, I wanted to just showcase my highest tier map for you. So basically, we are using Frenzy empowered abilities. The unfrenzy charge powered ability is kind of meh, but what the skill does is it hits, then it divides into all these small little beams. But if you empower it, it does more damage, it splits with beams, and then all those do beams. And then we're using both heralds and we're using freeze right now to get frenzy charges. So this is like a cold base spear where all three elements, we're using gloves to get basically all three elements or change into all three elements so that we could freeze. We're not using electrocute like other people are using. Electrocute is really, really annoying because you either need to use the gloves to electrocute, but you have to prime them and then use a skill to be able to execute a prime. So yeah, that's pretty annoying to do versus freeze. Speaking of annoying, here's a reminder to like the video if you're liking the video. Now, they really, really, really nerfed the elements, so you're gonna have to invest heavily into freeze buildup. So I did that with a couple jewels, and then there's also some freeze nodes over in the whole Amazon area. What is it called? Huntress area, I guess. I invested in those nodes, and then once you get to a certain point and you have the gloves and you're consistently freezing, then you can just kind of just spam the one spear. Before that, you're going to use a different skill, which puts spears into the ground, and then you leap on them and they do explosions. That ability is also very, very strong just with the empowered one, and that's what we primarily use for bossing. Also, there's a 50% more freeze buildup gem, which helps because of the ailment changes. It's much harder to apply all the ailments. And then we remove the downside of all three damage types because when they're frozen, they'll be reduced to 0 resist in the late game. The other way to consistently generate frenzy charges is Sniper's Mark, which you crit. So you just basically put that down with the extra charge, use Sniper's Mark, and then you just spam out the abilities. So you put some spears down, then you jump on it, which will explode it. Of course, I messed up this timing. And then now once we get ooh, almost died there. Then we just spam out when we have the frenzy charges, the spears. Then when he gets freeze, we throw even more spears that are super empowered whenever we're having frenzy charges. And then the boss kind of just dies. So we mostly lock the boss and just spam out the spears. So not too bad bossing. I'm doing all this on my lunch break, so I don't have a lot of time. I will try to get through this as quickly as possible and explain everything the best I can. All right, let's look at my gear. Just gonna mouse over everything really quick for you. I got this nice thing to drop, though you really want to go with a stun thing. I still am dying if I get perma stun locked. I'm going to fix that soon in my passive tree, probably by picking up these two nodes, this increased stun threshold and this recovery. And then I might pick up another charm as well with these 2 points to get up the charm slot so that I won't get stun locked. That's the main way I die. But very nice. Basically, whenever I'm getting hit by a fire hit, I get some rage, which is more damage. And I do, when I even take physical, convert some of that with this node into a random ailment or element. Sometimes it's fire. So then I basically use this thing that I dropped. Let me mouse over my jewels and then we'll talk about everything. Okay, there's that one and this one. So 3 of them. Right now I'm heading up here. I want to get this, which I showed you, and this node is a ton of free damage and more freeze buildup. And then I need all these nodes for the crit hit chance to make sure I'm getting really consistent. And then I need to pick up this as well. I still need to grab probably this crit cluster afterwards. The other nice thing about pathing over here, I get this jewel socket and this one. They've reduced all the jewels down. So anyways, here is my tree. Let me just explain the ascendancies. I only have 2 points so far. This node probably bugged or probably doesn't work and probably getting nerfed, but it basically gives us a crap load of crit, which makes this all possible. That's why our damage is so good. You see this little thing here, it says plus 66.15 to 93, whatever. Otherwise, my crit would just be 14.7. It adds a boatload of crit based on your over accuracy. So we're stacking accuracy, and then on top of that crit from accuracy, we also have this node, which is giving us attack speed with accuracy. So accuracy is good. We don't miss, we crit, and we attack pretty quickly. Our other ascendancy is this node right here. It infuses our weapon, and then we have power charge, endurance charge, or frenzy charge. When we consume it, it gets lightning infusion. Well, whenever we're casting our abilities, we're consuming frenzy charges. So as long as we have them, we have really good uptime on this elemental infusion, and we're using this as a utility skill. It was originally going to be 700% increased damage, which was absurd. They reduced it down to, I think, 180 at high level. It's still an extra 180 damage every time you're consuming the charges, so free damage, and we can put some utility skills on it, which make our life a whole lot better. I'm making it blind everything for me, guaranteed blind. And then we have maim from this node here, which maim makes them have reduced evasion. Blind makes them have less evasion. And then that's going to help with our accuracy and crit more precisely on especially like bosses and stuff. All right, the skills. So here is the infused weapon. I have blind, calling strike, might as well call for free. Cold exposure, so might as well just apply something. And strip away for improved cold exposure. Don't really need these, just threw stuff in there because this costs no mana, and why the heck not? Okay, Stormlance. Quality is important here because it lets you lodge 1 extra spear. We have Magnified Effect, Execute, Primal Ornament, and we have Blindside. This is because we have the blind from here, so we get to take action with that on bosses. Now, early on during the campaign, you're going to want to level with this skill here. When you get it with this Thunderless Leap, you'll want to use the freeze build up on it, and probably just the more area of effect. So these two as your primary. All right, Lightning Spear, you want quality on this thing as well, because basically when the beam, even when it's unempowered, will split and do all these little lightning bolts. You get more bolts as you level up or get the gem to higher levels, supposedly, but 2 extra bolts here is huge for it. It would only have 4, so it's 50% more bolts with that quality. 50% more accuracy, that's because of our synergy, and it gives us the attack speed. And then we don't want to consume charges so that we could just spam this. And then more damage farther away. And then we have the freeze build up for more consistent freezes. Thunderous Leap. We have more attack speed, because if you don't have enough attack speed on this, it's going to be very dangerous. You're going to just die leaping into things. During the campaign, things are slower, but once you get the maps, unless you're around 1.3 where I'm at here, you're going to just die to doing this. You can't really do that playstyle later in maps. It falls apart entirely. But during the campaign, you can get away with it with martial tempo. And then I'm experimenting with this, which sounds good in paper, but I think they bugged it. I don't think the accuracy node increases the attack time, and this node, this thing doesn't seem to work with it either. 2 bugs. This little Holy Descent is nice. It puts a little consecrated ground when you land, but it's laughably small. Look at that. What a freaking joke, dude. What a joke. All right, then we have Herald of Thunder. Now this goes off multiple times. Every time for the little splits, it can go off. That's why you saw in the screenshot of it all over the place. You definitely want quality on this thing. It's going to increase the amount of hits it can do. I'm using Ice Bite on this with more extra lightning and lightning pen. I want this to freeze and proc Ice Bite for me. Plus it can freeze and do that and trigger Combat Frenzy. Combat Frenzy, we have additional accuracy with this. You could do this charge, extra charge, but I use 20, or with quality, you get 20% chance. And I move the charge onto the Sniper's Mark for the bosses. Sniper's Mark, when you use this thing, it's going to generate a charge when it procs, and with an extra charge, 50% chance. So you get like 2 charges on bosses, and then you just spam in the spears. Also, if you're struggling, put down these spears, the Stormlance, at your feet, like this. Because things will run at you, and it'll just pulse and auto-freeze them as they run at you. And if you go forward, then you could always leap backwards like that and detonate those if you get overwhelmed. Herald of Ice, I'm using it the opposite way. Even though they don't chain off each other, I'm using this for lightning damage, more shock. So when it shocks and kills the shocked one, I'm getting Innervate. That helps with my clear. Doesn't work on the bosses, but that's fine. Then we have Wind Dancer with Rage on hit, and we have Life and Mana Leech on this thing. It'll give us a little bit of Rage. It'll save us, but if it is used with this and then something hits us in close range, it'll generate Rage to stop the degeneration that's coming from this charm. Kind of a sick little combo there. Okay, next steps to make this build really, really, really good. I'm basically going to grab the 2 extra Frenzy charges here, even though these Frenzy duration kind of blow. And then I'm going to anoint the node here, because this is going to give me a 5% chance when I would gain a Frenzy charges to gain my maximum. And then I should be able to just full spam on bosses, everything, to my heart's content, is what I'm hoping. So that is where I'm going. And then, of course, we want these nodes and these crit nodes. And then I need a better spear. And we're probably going to grab this since these 2 next, because I do have a little bit of accuracy. So this gives you your weapons accuracy, 20% of it as added physical. So it would be in this thing like 40 physical. So like a ring that would give you 40% fizz. Very nice. And then I probably will grab this, reveal weakness. Then later I'll drop that and probably get this in for the kill. I might instead grab this, either this node to help life leech later, or I might grab this node here, which makes my life flask also recover mana. I'm probably going to pick up this, which is going to give me... Probably going to pick up these nodes to give me a little bit of damage taken before mana. Or is mana before life. I think there's a belt that makes it so it gives you like this node as well. So I can get life recovery from energy shield without losing it on my health. That way, then my life flask, I could invest into that and I'll get life, energy shield, and mana back from it, which would be huge. So that is where I think I'm going with the build. I think I'm going to need more block, so I probably will pick up these 4 nodes as well. And then we'll see where that gets me. As I increase gear, maybe I could drop these nodes. Maybe I can drop some extra little nodes here and there. Like maybe this node, if I have a good enough crit. Yep, that's all for now. I gotta get back to work. See you guys and good luck.